Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Andy.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I thought I'd let you see my meditation buddies.
Who have we got joining you today?
This is Domingus, and that is Moki.
Amazing. So most of us have cats and dogs. We have fish in our house. You have a couple of horses in yours, Nancy.
I do, and dogs, and cat, and I was just hoping he wouldn't annoy us, but I thought this might be interesting.
It's lovely. Where are you? Where in the country are you?
Right now, I'm in Moab, Utah.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool place to be sheltering in place.
I
So
bet. A,
I get out a lot in the woods, and it's pretty cool.
beautiful part of the country. Beautiful part of the
It's
country.
beautiful. It
Yeah.
is.
You can still ride, do you still ride the horses and everything, or are the bands on that, or?
I can. It's like I said, we're very fortunate. So I can leave this property and ride and not see any humans, which I kind of like.
Yeah. How do I find this place? Let me just write down it sounds incredible. I'm sure there are a lot of people tuning in who would love to be in a place like that.
It is. We actually started out in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, in my early days when I was your age and I had a career, and we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and we started visiting the Four Corners region and realized it was like where you belong. It was so beautiful. And it took us a few years. My husband retired, and we moved over to the Four Corners.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what started kind of, it was wilderness, meditation, and horses.
Yeah.
But when we fell in love out here, it was almost like when you find out you're married to the wrong person. We were in Atlanta, and we needed to be here.
Yeah, it looks amazing. So Nancy, the team tell me that you've been using Headspace for a little while now. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
How long have you been
yeah.
doing it?
Several years.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think I started off, like I said, mainly I was doing a lot of wilderness stuff. Uh, at this point in my life,
Yeah.
I was, it was great. We did hiking and we did all kinds of things. And then all of a sudden someone told me to try Headspace. And I found out that I could just meditate anywhere. I can anywhere. Andy, did you know that horses meditate?
I'm not familiar with that as an expression, no, but I think all animals have the ability to kind of go into that restful state that we call meditation, but that is a
It,
fundamental part of nature and every part of nature.
they know how to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you see a horse in the field and he's got his back foot cocked and his head down
Yeah,
and ears are scanning, how you tell his environment.
yeah,
And horses are very, very sensitive. So
yeah,
they're aware, but they are breathing and they completely be.
yeah.
And I can when they're hanging out, I'll go meditate, but I'll put my hand on my chest to breathe, and I'll put my hand on theirs, and we kind of breathe
I
together.
love that.
And then I do different things with these guys. I kind of ride them with no bridles and saddles. They're not tools, they're partners. And it's like I'll get on them sometimes, and they like being with me, and I'll say, hey, you want to go out? And they'll kind of come up to the mounting block because I'm old and I can't jump on anymore. And this one particularly, I'll get on him and I'll check in and breathe and say, oh, do we want to play?
Yeah,
And they'll go, yeah, yeah. And then I think about what I want to do, and sometimes I'll think, scanner. And I just think it, and I line up and I'll say, and let's canter. And I don't put bits on these guys, or I don't need a bridle or anything. We'll just canter across in real meditative kind of togetherness. And 90% of the time they stop. If I say, let's stop, they'll stop
wow.
90% of the time.
Yeah. Tell me about the other 10% of the time.
Well, since I was an athlete and I'm the adrenaline addict. So here I am. I do this like, do not try this at home. Um, Well, one day they're having fun and they're just saying, "Oh, let's play," and I just hang on until they listen and I exhale, and then they'll stop.
Uh, it's funny you say. There are so many over the years. So many members have sent in pictures of their cats and their dogs meditating with them. In as they say, kind of in the room. And they say as soon as kind of the meditation begins, they just instantly sort of sit down and they seem to kind of share that state. And as you said, like horses are particularly kind of sensitive. And
They're very.
and so do you find kind of how you show up for them kind of is immediately reflected in how they are for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're having a rough day or so when I get with mine, particularly if I want to do a liberty, it's called liberty. If I want to get on them at liberty or something, I have to check in with myself. And then when I'm on them, I check in with them.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, is this a good day?
Yeah.
People often use horses and they put all this hardware on them and they want to control them. I just consider it a partnership.
Yeah.
And I don't feel a need to control. And yes, I'm completely responsible for myself before I connect with them.
It's so interesting, right, that we would do that with animals, though, and not necessarily with our fellow humans. I kind of feel like because of maybe the increased risk of danger with horses, we tend to be very sort of sensitive. But when we show up for other kind of humans, in just the same way, I think we're just as sensitive as the horses, but we're not necessarily appreciative enough, perhaps, with one another of how we kind of show up in each other's lives.
I think that's true. We don't, if we're not comfortable in our own skin and understand ourselves and our own energy and how our energy affects other people, then we're not listening to their energy or perceiving where they are. And I think it all kind of starts to finding ourselves. It's like I kind of had 3 pillars. It's like I found so much in wilderness. When we moved out here, I was always getting lost in woods and in some canyon or on some mountain or, just kind of always getting lost. But it was because I just needed that quiet with myself, because then when I come back, I feel like I'm more prepared for the horses, prepared for this. But that's what meditation is for me.
Yeah.
What's
over the last couple of years, kind of, it's an interesting one, isn't it? People often kind of say, like, what are the benefits of meditation? How, what changes have you seen? I don't know about you, Nancy. I often find that quite a difficult question to answer, because sometimes the benefits, they're not so kind of tangible, because they influence the way that we just are in life and our ability maybe to be rather than to become. It's quite difficult sometimes to kind of put those into words. How would you answer kind of that question? How has it changed things for you?
I think it's about quiet. People who are extroverts, I'm an extrovert, but people who we don't know how to be still in life. And I'll tell you the other thing is, it's the benefit as I get older. Because when I believe we're seasonal. And, our spring in life, we're kids and we're figuring ourselves out. In the summer in life, you're in your summer. You're doing and having kids and having careers. And I don't think we take time to learn to meditate and be.
Yeah.
When we get in our fall, it's like, oh, it's glorious. I love fall. Everything's gorgeous and the leaves are beautiful and the kids are launched and it's all very good. And sometimes we're learning to be a little bit more, but I'm in winter now. And I look in the mirror and go, who are you? Where's the redhead girl? And I think meditation and learning to be, I hope this wind is okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's no problem at all.
Okay, the winter time where I'm in right now, this being meditation helps me accept the changes that are happening in life. It means, like my horses, I can absolutely be in the moment. We have health issues now. It's funny, as you get older, you don't want things to change, and yet it changes the most.
Yeah.
And, I had a health issue, and I had to go through an MRI, which is a lot of it's like being in a very noisy coffin.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. I did your meditation. I did your visualization in an MRI. So the benefits come in really odd places, but I think they're for different parts of our life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that people my age need more of that.
Yeah.
We're losing people, we're losing friends, our circumstances change, our bodies, you know. It's like, you like I said, you look in the mirror and say, "Oh my God, they're right. Everything stopped growing except your nose." And I'm thinking it'll look like a cantaloupe by the time I'm 90. But does that answer you kind of? Is that a long-winded answer?
No, I think I love it actually I've not heard it talked about in quite that way actually, and I really like it. I wonder as you reflect on where you are in life, what's your relationship with the past? So if you think about it seasonally like that, do you look to the past with a sense of appreciation and kind of wonderment? Do you look at it with a sense of longing and kind of attachment? Like, are you able to enjoy looking back at those different seasons without necessarily wanting to be there again or repeat them?
That's a good question because you have kids.
I do, yeah.
And I declare that there is an exoneration period for parental war crimes. Okay, that that I feel like I've lived a lot of lives in one, and there was that summer of raising kids, and we did what we did, and we made errors.
Yeah.
If I go back and continually worry about, don't forgive myself for the mistakes I made.
Yeah.
But because we're flawed, we're just flawed humans. So I look back and go, oh my God, that was a great run. So right now I look at the seasons and I'll go, that was amazing. And then when I was a very strong athlete, that was amazing. I was scaling mountains and doing this. So I'm looking back a little bit with, gee, that was great, and trying not look forward. Not too long ago, my husband and I were talking about this, and we went to the river and sat down, and on this side of the page, I said, let's write everything we can no longer do. Yeah. And let's grieve that. We can no longer do these things on this page. Yeah. But on this page, look at these things we can do. Yeah. And so we looked at reality. Yeah. I don't know that we're supposed to hang on to a lot of things. Yeah. Do you want me? Can I tell you a little story, or is that?
Yeah, please do. Absolutely.
Something that relates, because I was thinking one time, I was always getting lost in canyons and stuff, and my husband finally gave me a GPS because I missed several dinner parties, and I was out on some canyon, and I started having lunch, and I felt pinpricks in the back of the neck, like something. And I went, and something said, you better go. So I was on Slick Rock, which is rock, and then I GPSed my footprints, and I found them, and on every one of my prints was a lion track. And I'd been stalked, apparently. I was either too skinny, too smelly, unappetizing, whatever. But I wanted to record that. Yeah. And I kept thinking I wanted to take a picture of that. And I didn't have my camera, and I thought, well, I'll go home and I'll get a camera. And I thought, no, it's my memory. Yeah. A storm was coming at that night, and that night, all that would be washed away. Yeah. Not his tracks, not my tracks. And I thought, and if several generations, no one will remember me. Now, they'll remember you because you're making a big footprint. But it's okay.
Let's see. Yeah. No, I have to say that's when I think about life sort of back in the monastery and in retreat. Like one of the first things actually they ask you to do in retreat, you spend about a month just reflecting on impermanence. So for 16 hours a day, that's That's all you do. That's all you do. Is focus on impermanence. The fact that that we're born into the world, that we will leave the world, and in time, nobody will kind of remember us, and not in a negative way, not in a bad way. Kind of, I actually think in a really healthy way. I think it kind of takes a bit of pressure kind of off and allows us to really kind of enjoy and be present in this life for what it is right now, rather than for trying to preserve it kind of even beyond our own passing.
If we just get that we're seasonal, it's not a mistake, it's not an accident, and the horses, the dogs, our relationships, it will change, but we are ending. And that was another thing I had said. It's like, as I prepare for, I'm in my winter season, and as I prepare for death, what does that look like, and how does it feel? And it's not a mistake. I've, in the last 5 years, lost many friends. And I've been with many of them as they've died, which was an honor. But it's like, oh, well, this isn't a big mistake, or, it's just seasonal. And I think the less we are comfortable with ourselves, and this is why meditation is so good, sitting in that minute.
Yeah.
And so I've decided that you need to create a module for people.
Yeah.
That help us as we transition in death. Can you think how cool that would be to be doing my job of dying and then listening your voice? Do it. Will you do that?
I can do that. Do you know, Nancy? We've had, I can think of 2 people who've written in over the years, normally partners of couples, and I've been so moved where they've used the app in the moment, actually. And both times, I mean, it left me kind of crying my eyes out. I was, it was just amazing to, I think that the last one in particular, kind of the situation was so, he described it as beautiful, but also very difficult and almost so overwhelming that it was only the simplicity of focusing on the breath and the passing of that really made sense. Anything else was kind of too challenging. So I think it's something I would love to do. And I mean, again, one of the lessons in the monastery was that we learn meditation kind of as much as we learn it for life. We're actually learning it, and we're trying to train in stability of it, so that at the point of dying, we're able to apply it. Like, that's the ultimate kind of challenge. Kind of everything else in life is just training. We're constantly challenged by these obstacles. Can we apply mindfulness to them? And as we learn and as we get stronger in our stability of those, then maybe there's the opportunity that we can apply it at the point of death and actually die very kind of peacefully.
I've been looking at that, and you say I like what you said, the stability of the meditation. What I tell people is, when you meditate, it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not doing it to feel better than. I'm doing it because if I can't give myself 10 minutes a day to sit with myself, that's pathetic.
Yeah. It's so easy to convince ourselves otherwise, though, right? It's so easy to do it.
We always have to be doing something, and like I said, these seasons, your summer season, you have to, and then fall we're doing, and so recently I've had this, and the other thing, the more I meditate and be out in wilderness, the weirder things happen to my brain, and like I had these thoughts at night come in my brain, like questions. So I had one recently pop in my head, and it said, what's the most important thing you can do with your life right now? And I was like, holy cow. And I massaged it for a while, and I massaged it for a few days, and I realized at this point in my life, 70, the most important thing I can do with my life is it's not what I can do, is be the best me. Not do anything. I'm not, be me. And that's what meditation helps, is planting to be. In the middle of these changes, health, and this and this. And, you know, yeah, the best thing I can do is just be me. I mean, I spent my life being a mental health professional and having a career and doing things, and it's kind of nice to just think about being in the winter under a warm comforter with a good book and snow falling and be by a fire. That's winter.
I love that. I love that. There's actually a couple of people on here who've asked, and I suspect your last answer kind of gives a good flavour of what your answer to this might be. But there's someone saying recommendations for people in spring. Someone else kind of said, "What would your advice be for summer?" Any thoughts you'd like to share?
Oh, I wish I'd had you in my summer. But this is my thing. The recommendation is do your meditation and find some life. I mean, like, I'm fortunate. I have wilderness I can be in. You can find life in a blade of grass growing on a sidewalk. I did some Tom Brown Jr. wilderness survival schools because I was always getting lost, and I figured I wasn't a Boy Scout, so I better figure out how to do it. But if you can look at a blade of grass on the sidewalk and stop and look at all the different colors in it, and is there an ant crawling on it? I mean, we can meditate on a piece of life anywhere. You know, put a little make a little herb garden in your house, but don't just do it. I know people and they go from point A to point B, whether it's even wilderness. I mean, they'd be blasting through the wilderness from this hike and this thing, and they never stop and look at the intricacies of a flower.
Yeah.
So in the spring and in the summer, it would be stop.
Yeah.
And it's everything that you say when you do the what is my skin, what do I feel, what do I hear, what do I taste. If you can't take time out for that, you know, does that make sense?
It does, very much so. You know, it's interesting, you know, whether we think of kind of nature outside of ourselves or inside of ourselves. You know, a lot of people will often say kind of focusing on the breath, so I just get bored kind of watching the breath. And sure, the breath might be very boring until it's threatened or until we realize we may not have it any longer. And then all of a sudden, it becomes very interesting, actually, and quite sort of engaging. And I feel like that's kind of true for our external world as well. Because it's around us all the time, we just kind of feel like we're seeing the same thing every time, when in truth we're seeing something different every single time. And I feel like it's in so much of meditation, it's not really about being able to focus on the breath. It's about cultivating that quality of curiosity and interest and non-distraction, so that when we go out into the rest of our life, we are then experiencing it in the rest of our life as well.
I do. It carries over.
Yeah.
And then when I get trigger points,
if
something will happen, and if I can stop and breathe, and it creates a gap space between something that happens and my reaction. And if I can fill that gap space with some breath, you know, I've always told my husband, don't talk to me, just let me walk. And it's like, give me a minute, you know, and let me walk, let me breathe. But with the horses, now that's wonderful, because so many people don't breathe around horses. They'll get on and they get tense, and if they don't breathe, the horse won't breathe.
Yeah.
Everybody holds their breath. Yeah. But if you breathe, you know, the horse, everybody exhales.
Did you ever find that in your work as you said you're a psychologist or psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Psychologist?
Yeah. I was for years. Yeah.
Did you experience that much in, you know, when you sit in a clinical environment, you sit in a room and with another person, there's often that kind of experience of sharing sort of what they're sharing, whether it's in their breath or their mood or their, like, is it called transference? I don't know what the right expression, the clinical expression is, but there's kind of, you start to kind of maybe be more aware of the subtleties of.
Yeah, and that's kind of difficult. I did it for, like I said, I've had many careers, a long way. I started off, I specialized in post-traumatic stress for a while. And just when you think you heard the worst thing you're ever going to hear, it would raise the bar. And I wanted to be present and breathe with them, but it became too much for me. And so a good friend and I started an employee assistance program. Then
Yeah.
But as far as, people have in themselves the answers very often.
Yeah.
If you can just be present and just say, what is this like for you? Then sometimes people have their own answers. And a lot of time people are busy giving the answers for them.
Yeah.
So again, the meditation could be in this capacity to listen deeply.
Yeah.
And I have to listen to those horses. I wouldn't say it's time to go. It's time to go. I kind of have to go and listen a little deeper.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does, and it kind of makes me think of, at least, and this is gross generalization, I'm just thinking of my own seasons kind of here, but if I think about
your summer.
I'll take it. I mean, I feel more like fall, but I'll take summer. And I feel like in spring there's so much kind of will and wanting to to solve and to kind of get the answer, and kind of just progressively over time there's just a greater willingness to allow the time and the space that the mind needs, the body needs, that life needs to be comfortable, and maybe less trying to think our way through something and more allowing kind of life to unfold maybe.
But it's hard when you're working on a career and you're raising children, and particularly right now in this day and time. See, I think right now this pandemic, it's an opportunity to pause.
Yeah.
All the summer folks and fall folks that have been so busy, this may create a big pause if they take the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not a comfortable anybody.
Sure.
But it is an opportunity to learn how to pause and not be so busy all the time. I have friends, I mean, it's like they have to fill spaces all the time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. For as many families who I've spoken to who are struggling with illness and sometimes even loss.
Yeah.
And families who I've spoken to are struggling with work and their businesses, and I've spoken to as many families who have said it's through this time. It's difficult, but actually, like, they've reconnected either with their partners, they've reconnected with their children. It's been time at home with their kids that they have never had in their entire kind of life, since the kids were born. And so I think, as you say, not to negate any of the difficulty that's going on for so many people, but there is, for a number of other people, a kind of an opportunity as well to experience life a little bit differently.
And learning, to me, is like to embrace this change. Like I said, as winter people, there's a lot of change. And learning how to transition. Change can be uncomfortable, and we just do the best we can with it. And, we're trying to change. Animals have to change. People have to change. You want to bottle it up and make it stay the same. And we can't. I mean, I'm working actually with an organization. This is kind of off, but we live across the Mesa Verde National Park. And there's a lot of wild horses up there. So the park decided that they have to go, and it's not a bad thing with global climate change, and there's no water. And then all these people are like, "Oh no, you can't move the wild horses; it'll change their life." And so I have this organization, and we're going, "No, they got to go. It's our responsibility to make this transition as easy as possible." So we are raising money for sanctuaries. Can I plug?
Of course you can. Yeah, please do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. It's National Thing Association, Colorado. But we are looking to help horses who transition and change and things like that. They don't want that. If I went and took a survey of all those horses, like, "Hey guys, would you like to leave today? You want to?" I think they would all say no. But I'm going to have to change. My body's changing. Knee replacement means I can't hike like I did, and so as two old athletes, my husband blew his heart out, I blew my body out. And someone asked me, would you have done it differently? That kind of circles around to a question you asked. So, would I have done much differently? If I'd known I was going to do this much to my body, I might have toned it down some. But dang, it was a good ride.
Yeah, that's the thing with that question. I always think, unless we're fundamentally unhappy with where we've ended up, it doesn't really make any sense, because we wouldn't be where we were without those things, no matter how good or bad or easy or difficult they were along the way. They've created the journey that's got us to where we are, right?
And I am a very content human.
Yeah.
I have, I know life will change, but I feel like basically I'm a content human. I have lovely friends and a good community and a loving partner, and yeah, I'm a pretty lucky gal.
That's nice. Someone said on the comments earlier on, like you're pushing the eternal spring, and I feel like in your spirit you are most definitely pushing the eternal spring.
Oh, I like
Isn't that nice?
that.
Isn't that nice? It's yeah, I just, it's interesting kind of over the years I think especially I saw in the monastery with some of the older teachers, and like there was just such a youthful, playful spirit. And it's fun, like meditation is so often seen as, I'm sure much of that is just kind of character, kind of how we show up in the world, but meditation is so often seen as a kind of like a serious kind of thing. But actually my experience of those people who had really kind of trained their mind, actually there was a playfulness and a lightness and a youthfulness which kind of transcended age, actually. And so it didn't matter whether they were 20 years old and I was older than them, or they were 90 years old and I was a lot younger than them. It kind of felt like the same sort of essence or spirit.
I like that, because culturally, aging is not, in our culture, is not looked on very well.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, you'll see a little old person in a grocery store fumbling for change. You don't know their story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they had a life, they had a story, and we will warehouse elders. Like I say, you should get yourself a council of elders to help you with the meditations for winter people and fall people, and because they used to culturally bring together these elders. I mean, we've been there, done that, seen a lot, made a ton of mistakes, and at the same time, can't do much about it. I'm in the present, not the past, unless you can clean it up. You clean up what you can.
Sure.
And give yourself for what you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Nancy, I could genuinely chat with you all day. I think you're amazing. You're an inspiration, and I wonder if you and I don't know if the horses are still there in the background, but I don't know if
they're asleep. Yeah.
I don't know if you'd mind joining us. We're just going to do a short 2-minute little exercise together. Feel free to stay where you are. For those of you joining from home, lying down, sitting down, whatever's most comfortable for you. We're going to start with our eyes open, so just to focus on the space around us. And whenever you're ready, just taking a big deep breath, breathing in through the nose. And as you breathe out through the mouth, you can allow the eyes to close if you'd like to. But just take a moment just to enjoy that feeling of being still. Feel the weight of the body pressing down. Just noticing where you feel that contact. It might be the feet on the floor, and the body against the seat. Take a moment to notice any sounds as well. They might be those immediately around you. They might be from the background of Nancy's farm, the birds in the background. But just allowing those into the experience. And take a moment as well just to notice how the body feels today. So just checking in with the body. As always, restless, still, heavy, light. Just getting a sense of how the body feels. And without rushing in your own time, just slowly becoming more aware of the breath. So as always, might be in the chest, diaphragm, the stomach. Doesn't matter where you feel it, but if you can't feel anything at all, just gently placing your hand on your stomach, just so you can feel that movement. And we'll just stay here for 10 breaths. So letting any thoughts come and go and just being interested in each breath. Each in-breath, each out-breath. Not just where you feel it. Is it long or short? Smooth, broken? And then just gently letting go of that focus, but allowing that feeling to remain, so you can carry it into wherever you're going next. You can gently open your eyes in your own time. And remember, if you want to do some more meditation, you know where to find it. And Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I hope you continue to stay healthy and well out there in Utah. It looks amazing, and
come visit.
I would love to. When we're free to roam again, I'll take you up on that. I'd love to come visit. But thanks so much for joining today, and thanks for being so supportive. You know, for using the app and being so passionate about it. You know, it's it means a lot to all of us.
Well, thank you, Andy, for everything you do.
No worries. Big team effort at this end. Big team effort. Thank you to all of you for tuning in today, and I will see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for Take 10. Thanks, guys. Take care. Thanks, Nancy.